Get outside. Get out so that you won't miss what's coming. But what came last night was the 6th largest earthquake ever recorded. A massive 8.8 magnitude quake shook just off the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, damaging the area and prompting tsunami alerts for much of the Pacific Rim, including Alaska, Hawaii, and parts of the lower 48. We're going to take a look at all of that. Normally we start with the sensible weather across the states, but today we're going to start the show with our space weather and geological update. How'd you like to be sitting in your office, folks, minding your own business, and all of a sudden an 8.8 earthquake struck right underneath you? Look at this, just devastating damage here. Fortunately, this occurred in an area that was not all that heavily populated. And there's where it struck. There's the epicenter right off the coast of the Kamchatka Peninsula, and it sent shockwaves all throughout the region, prompting tsunami alerts as well. The seismograph in Blacksburg, Virginia, a third of the way around the world, captured the quake. You can see it right down here. That's just amazing how far it was felt. And here you can see how the waves traverse the United States. Watch that image there, and they kind of go across. That's just an incredible image, incredible amount of force being released. Here's the buoy network. Anytime there's a tsunami event, buoys detect that, they will light up, and you can see them lighting up all around the Pacific Rim. It shows you what's gone on over the last 24 hours. Here's an indication of how the tsunami travels over time. So the earthquake happens here, pushes the water, the ocean floor up. The tsunami goes out like throwing a stone in a lake. Look at how the water just goes around Hawaii, Alaska, the lower 48, getting some waves here. I think there was a 6-foot wave in Hawaii, is the biggest one that I have seen so far, and 3 feet along the U.S. coast. Here is what's going on off the coast of Japan, and I'll turn the sound down so it doesn't bother us. But look at this, big waves coming in, and you can see that's how a tsunami looks. You get all of these waves, water one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. They just pile up like that. So we've got tsunamis all around the Pacific Rim, and some areas were inundated more than others. You can scroll X and see a lot of this. Look at this one here. This is whales. There were 4 whales that washed up in this event, folks. Big whales washing up on the beach. I hope they can do something to save those. I'm sure that they can, but that is incredible. Here is the current earthquake map for the United States. Nothing going on here. Sometimes these events can disturb the Earth's crust in other places around the world, and you get additional shaking. Fortunately not. We've seen a few aftershocks into the 6s, but nothing else anywhere else. Certainly no volcanic activity, nothing new in the Pacific Ring of Fire that we're watching out here, folks. But that is your geological update. Certainly sunspots. We look at the solar portion of this, this segment too, and not a lot going on out there. So when we look at space weather, sometimes we see sunspots that have the potential to produce solar flaring. Not seeing a lot of that. We've got a few coming in, some departing. None of these are all that large or complex, so we're really not expecting much. If I click on one of these, we can open this up and see, look at that. Positive, negative out front, positive back here. You need these charges interspersed. You need more complexity, and it needs to be bigger, and you get bigger chance or a higher risk of bigger solar flaring, which could release a CME at the Earth, but we're not seeing any of that right now. But what we are seeing, and you need to get outside to see this, folks, the Delta Aquariids and the Capracornids peak tonight is the last night in which they peak, so you can get out. There it is. Look at this. This dust cloud rotates around the sun, and you can see the planets kind of circling the sun there, of course, as we move this around. There's Mercury, Venus, and Earth. Earth is in the path of this right now, and the highest chance of seeing fireballs is overnight tonight. We have we just came out of a new moon. We have a waxing crescent. We're going to be able to have good light in the sky in terms of favorable conditions with not a lot of moonlight pollution. If you can avoid the smoke across the northern tier, you can get out preferably in the pre-dawn hours and see this. Capricornids, as I said, are going off too, so you'll see some fireballs here with that. The Perseids peak next month around the 12th or 13th. We're in the Perseid meteor shower now, but it's it's not at its peak yet. And of course, we get to the peak, we're going to have a full moon, so light pollution will be a problem. But here's your moon phase, folks. 31.5% waxing crescent. There's your full moon, August the 9th, a sturgeon moon. If you've been watching this show, you know that the sturgeon moon has its name because of the sturgeon, the fish that are caught typically during that time of year, and you know, other full moons as well. But that is your space weather and geological update, folks. We're going to have your weather IQ question coming right up, followed by a look at the tropics, and we're going to see what's going on out there in the Atlantic. All right, today's weather IQ question continues our tropical weather question series, and it should be a slam dunk easy one for you. And here it is. Which direction do tropical cyclones rotate in the northern hemisphere? West to east, clockwise, counterclockwise, or east to west? If you know the answer, type it in the comment section. If you don't know it, simply wait to the end of the show and you will know it by the end of the show. Now we're going to get into that tropical update, speaking of the tropics, and we'll see what's going on out in the Atlantic, if there is anything at all. And there you have it, folks. A whole lot of nothing going on out in the Atlantic, at least in the near term, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot going on in the medium term either. There's a satellite image, and we've been watching this wave, and some of the models earlier picked up on this wave and really wanted to go to town with it, but unfortunately it looks like for now it's in dire straits here. It's getting shredded apart, it's finding some dry air, and it's not seeing any type of convection in terms of building convection. We had some high cloud tops yesterday. Nothing is going on here, dead as a doornail. We've got some waves moving across Central America, heading into the Pacific, where it has been extremely active out there. Got a frontal zone here with some convection, nothing to worry about there. Not much going on off the southeast coast. And here in the central Gulf to northern Gulf, we've got a little wave there, and it is not expected to develop. Now, if we take a look at what the GFS is showing, because it has been showing some of these waves, there will be additional waves coming off the coast of Africa, and we still have much of the tropical season left ahead of us. But if we watch here, as we get on out toward Friday and Saturday, we see a low pressure developing out here in the Atlantic. That's not going to be tropical, but watch this. We have more waves coming off. There are two areas of concern here. This is the main development region that we're watching here for activity to develop, and we also have this frontal boundary that's going to hang off the southeast coast. So we're going to watch for development there as we move this along. So we're in Saturday into Sunday. Nothing going off, just another tropical wave coming off here. But now we start to get a little bit of a low pressure signal out here. And if we start to see convection firing and low pressure organizing out here off the southeast coast, that could turn into a tropical wave, tropical storm or tropical depression, then potentially a storm. But the way the pattern is shaping up, we've got a trough that will be setting up here, and it will kick everything out. So not expecting anything to bother land, even if something does develop in that region. Now, watching the main development region over the course of the next 2 weeks, the GFS runs about 2 weeks, 16 days. We see a few waves coming off, and eventually it might try to spin up a little L here or whatnot, but not really seeing a ton going on. GFS is not excited about any of that stuff. Now, if we take a look at the European and see what it shows, again, very, very similar. We've got a little low pressure coming off here. We've got some more wave activity coming off of Africa. That low pressure goes on up in the Atlantic and doesn't bother anybody. But then we see that frontal boundary hang up here off the coast, see a few more waves coming out here through the main development region, and watching this propagate forward, it starts to do something. It starts to pick up on one of these waves out here in the Atlantic. Still not seeing a lot going on off the southeast coast. At some point that front will dissipate. But anyway, it looks like it's taking one of these, keying in on one of these waves again as we get way on out here in time. Next Friday, August the 8th, this is way out, about 2 weeks from today, a little bit more than that, maybe 10 days. And then we get on out, sees a few more L's coming off here. So several waves on the European, at least in the Europeans' eyes, need to be watched. And of course, when there are reputable models showing potential development, we will keep it in mind. It takes one wave all the way in toward Florida here, but it doesn't look very, very strong at all. Conditions still aren't very favorable out here, folks. We've got a lot of wind shear that will abate over time, dry air and sinking air, all of which tropical systems do not like if they are to develop at all. The European ensemble that we've been watching does not show a lot in the way of development either, except off of the North Carolina coast. And if we pull this along forward for days, this is days, this gets us out into day 5, we see the potential for some development out here, and we saw the model key in on that a little bit. But what is going to happen is if it develops, as I said, it's going to go on out here. So I'm not forecasting any sort of tropical activity to develop over land, and we still have a slight chance over the next 360 hours or so for something. This is actually through day 10, so that's 240 hours. Slight chance of something developing out here, but it does not look good. Conditions are not favorable for it. There is your Pacific. Tropical storm Keli is hot on the heels of Hurricane Iona, which has gotten shredded apart over the last 12 hours or so. Another disturbance hot on their heels, and a couple of other disturbances way back over here in the eastern Pacific. Check out Iona here. Go back to the satellite view. This thing was looking beautiful yesterday in terms of a hurricane, but it is getting taken apart, just getting shellacked out here with wind shear coming in, and so not expecting it to really bother anything. And that's your tropical update, folks. I'll keep you posted on what's going on. Now let's take a look at the weekend outlook, because if you're going to get outside, you're going to have some good outside weather to enjoy, at least in certain parts of the country. We're going to look at that right now. Let's go, folks. It's Wednesday. I'm ready for that weekend. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We're growing rapidly, and want to thank you to all the new members who have signed up and all the existing members who continue to watch and support us here. Thank you for all the prayer requests for my son, Cold Drizzle, and my grandmother lately. If there's anything I can pray about for you, put it in the comment section. I will do that. I promise. I'll read all those comments and respond to those. So hit the like button too, and leave a comment about anything you want. If there's a question or you have a suggestion for the show, leave that in the comment section. In any event, thank you so much for being here. We are going to roll ahead and look at your weekend. We're going to start by taking a look at the satellite image, and you can see tons of activity associated with a band of showers and thunderstorms moving through parts of Missouri into Illinois and Wisconsin as well. Kirksville up to Burlington, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Madison, Wisconsin, almost into Milwaukee. You all are seeing potential thunderstorm activity. Actually, not potential. You can see it on the lightning display, but heavy rains associated with this. We've got some flooding threat in this area too for repeated rounds of rain. A lot of cloud cover up here in the Midwest and northern plains, and still monsoonal flow coming through the Four Corners. As I said earlier, the tropical disturbance, not really a tropical disturbance, but a tropical air mass and a disturbance within that, wringing out a lot of rain here across the Gulf Coast states, moving west and southwest under an anticyclone. Cloud cover here this morning. I'm looking out and I can see clouds in Morganton, North Carolina, and a few clouds streaming into New England as well. Here is the, call it the heat map, folks, but it's the alerts map, and it shows heat advisories all the way up into the mid-Atlantic and stretching down into parts of the southeast, Florida, back over to the Mississippi Valley, into the eastern central plains. We've got some excessive heat warnings where it's very, very humid, looking at, or extreme heat warnings where we're going to see heat indexes approaching 115, over 100 in any of these orange areas. Flood watches up here in northern Illinois and Iowa, where we're going to see heavy rain come out of these thunderstorms, 2 to 3 inch per hour rainfall rates. So where we see training going to pick up several inches of rain in a hurry, and that's going to be the focus for rainfall over the next couple of days. That's going to shift off into the southeast as a front comes through. Unfortunately, we've got a pattern. We've got a ridge poking up into Canada, sending smoke down from Canada into these areas here, straight into the Midwest and the Great Lakes, folks. We're seeing lots of smoke for most of Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. We're seeing a lot of smoke activity. If you've got sensitivity to that, stay inside. It's unhealthy air up here. And red flag warnings out west, where it's been hot and dry, and you don't want to burn anything out there. There's your wildfire smoke, and you can see it just pouring in over the next couple of days. Not going to see any relief from that. Now, you're seeing some reflection of it all the way down here in the pretty much toward the Mason-Dixon line, but the air quality is really bad up here, and so that's where you want to stay inside and not get outside like I'm telling you to do. I told you to stay inside the other day, and that's part of the reason for it, but if you're not in those areas, you can get outside, and you certainly should if you want to catch those fireballs in the sky. Windy conditions out here in the Four Corners region and west. Could see some gusts into the 30s, potentially 40s, also in the mid-plains where we're seeing potential just thunderstorm activity and things like that. And up here in the northeast, could see a couple of gusts too. Everywhere else, not too bad. There is your front. This front is a fall front, folks. It's going to be bringing in cooler conditions and much drier air, and much of the nation's going to be fall ready by the time this thing comes through. It's going to feel nice, temperatures dropping into the 70s, low humidities, but out ahead of it and along it, we're going to see little disturbances move along, provide the focus for showers and thunderstorms, a few severe thunderstorms out there potentially today and tomorrow, but not the widespread stuff that we've seen. But flooding is definitely a risk here in the Midwest and also in the front range of the Rockies, where we've seen repeated showers and thunderstorms develop, and then that focus will shift into the southeast. But anywhere in the green, you could see pop-up showers and thunderstorms. There is the severe weather outlook from basically New England down in toward West Virginia, the western portions, interior sections here of the Mid-Atlantic. It's not really the Mid-Atlantic, I guess that's up and down the Appalachians, really is probably the best way to describe it. Then here in the lower Great Lakes, back into the mid-Mississippi Valley and the front range of the Rockies, Denver up into northern parts of Wyoming, could see some scattered thunderstorms, and some of those could be strong to severe. No tornadoes, really. You can't ever say no tornadoes, but the threat is very low. Wind is definitely the biggest threat in all of those areas, and then hail out here where lapse rates are better, and also up here in northern New England as well. Tomorrow, threat gets even better, mostly just scattered thunderstorms in the green, but a couple of pockets of potential wind events possible here in the Mid-Atlantic and also near Denver up to Cheyenne. Again, wind and hail out here in the west would be the primary threat there. As we take a look here at what the European is showing us over the next couple of days, we've got that system moving through the Midwest this morning, a couple of scattered showers around in the southeast. But as we go through the course of the daytime today, we'll see that front start to light up and little waves along that, bringing some heavy rain to these areas up here in the central portion of the country, the nation's midsection is the best way to say that. And then down here into the southeast too, into Florida, a couple of showers up in the northeast possible as well. That'll abate overnight. We could see a little bit of this activity in this center portion of the country kind of hang together as it gets on into tomorrow morning, but the intensity will die off. The front again lights up, and out ahead of that, tropical air mass continue to see those precipitable waters running higher than normal, wringing out everything it can from the atmosphere as those thunderstorms work on it. We get on into Friday, everything starts to pile up along that front that is pushing toward the south. So up here in New England, up around the Great Lakes, up here in the Midwest, high pressure working in, that cool air and dry air is funneling in. Still going to see some showers lee of the Rockies. We get on into Saturday morning, not too bad. A couple of disturbances in the northern plains, but we'll be just fine Saturday morning. And then the rain is really confined up here to the northern plains, back kind of along this boundary. This is what we're looking at. We've got a ridge in the southwest, and that boundary slipping to the south like that, and out along and ahead of that's where we'll find the rain on Saturday. So it's going to be a spectacular weekend from northern sections of the southeast, mid-south through the central plains and to the northeast. Not so bad out here either, just hot in the desert southwest, but should stay dry for you. And as we get on into Sunday, same sort of regime is in place, so we're not looking for much in the way, a few showers out here in the plains, but other than that, in the southeast where that frontal zone is hanging up off the coast, we're going to see very, very, very nice conditions. Temperatures as we go on out through the week, warm in the east, warm in the northwest, but that big cool punch is coming on in out of Canada, bringing that drier, cooler air. Thursday, we get into Friday. These purples are starting to get 10 to 15 degrees below normal. This is a mile up off the ground, so translate that down. It's going to be below normal at the surface too. And the anomalies just continue to hang on here as we get into Saturday. You can see the evidence of that frontal zone out ahead of that front. It's warm, behind it it's cool. Still kind of warm in the southwest. We've got a flat ridge out here, a little bit of troughing working into the northwest too. And that's what's going on. We get on into Sunday, into Monday. This hangs on through early next week. So northeast, you may be warming up, but everybody else here from the Ohio Valley down to the southeast, back to the midsection of the country, and even out west, looking cooler than normal to end the weekend and start the week. There is our precipitable water, and you can just see the dry air in the brown just making its way south as we go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's about as far south as the really dry air gets, but basically here from the northern plains back into the upper southeast is where we see dry air setting up. Its humidity values are going to come down, temperatures are going to come down. It is going to be nice. Looking at the actual air temperatures here, it's our last map. Let me get our drawing tool off the screen. But already today, highs in the 70s up here in the northern portion of the country, up into northern New England, 80s below that, hundreds and upper 90s from the central plains and the south central plains back through the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic down to the southeast, hundreds in the desert southwest. In the Great Basin, looking at temperatures in the 80s and 90s. In the interior northwest, hundreds near Spokane, Seattle even getting close to 90 on that map. Thursday, that front presses farther south. We're starting to see some 50s and 60s show up here in the mountains, the green and white mountains up here in New England. Look at that, 70s pushing all the way down into the Ohio Valley. We're starting to see those 90s and upper 90s turn into lower 90s. Still got hundreds here in the southern plains and the desert southwest, still hanging on to some heat in the interior northwest. But look here at Friday, really starting to see that punch of cooler air make it all the way into the mid-Atlantic, down here into the mid-Mississippi Valley. Still got the southern tier still warm in the desert southwest, of course, but everybody else is kind of cooling off. Saturday, we get cooler. Look at this. High pressure noses down the east of the Appalachian Mountains, and that's like a wintertime wedge, folks, but this is a summertime wedge. Drops the dew points, drops the temperatures, highs in the low 80s here in North Carolina. Man, I cannot wait. 70s in my area. Still cool in the central plains in the north and the Midwest. And Sunday, that wedge hangs on. We start to warm up a little bit, but there are signs that potentially another little bit of a cool punch is coming later on, folks. That is your weekend outlook, and we are going to wrap things up here with the answer to today's weather IQ question and get you out of here so you can enjoy your day. But remember the question, it was, which direction do tropical cyclones rotate in the northern hemisphere? And the answer is, as you may have guessed, counterclockwise. Low pressure systems, most tornadoes, tropical cyclones, things of that nature rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. And I don't know if it's clockwise or counterclockwise what I'm doing on your screen, but it's, trust me, they rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, guess what happens? The opposite. They rotate clockwise. That's how it goes, folks. Now you know about hurricanes and the weather. A couple of other interesting tidbits to know about today. In 1945, on this day, the USS Indianapolis was sunk by a Japanese submarine after delivering components of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. And if you ever watch Jaws, you need to watch Robert Shaw's soliloquy where he talks about that. His character was on that ship. Lots of people went into the water. 900 went into the water. A lot of people were on the ship. 1,196 people were aboard. 900 went into the water, but only 316 came out after days of exposure, dehydration, and many, many sharks killed everyone else. And also in 1975, Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. He was a notorious labor union, and he disappeared in front of the Red Fox restaurant. That's the last time anybody ever saw him, and it's still one of the most captivating unsolved mysteries in U.S. history. If you have any ideas or tips on what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, be sure and let authorities know. But that's it, folks. That's the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you will be back tomorrow. We're going to take a look in the next couple of days at how July and how the summer has gone so far and what to expect for August. And that's it. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you back tomorrow.